I'm Connor, this is Ben and Steve, and we're just going to do a short discussion about constraints-led coaching. And it involves 3 different factors, which Ben will now tell you about.
So constraints-led approaches can be used in 3 different methods. So affecting the task, so affecting the individual using task-led approaches. So this could be changing the challenges that are put on the task. So changing areas that the player has to dribble around using the left foot or the weaker foot. The environment, so changing the environment, and also an individual. So this could be body size, this could be weight, where they could be challenged. So what we're going to do is we're just going to discuss a little bit about where we might see these constraints in our coaching and if we've seen any experience in the coaching. Steve?
Right, yeah, so one that I've seen quite a lot of, it's a task-led constraint, and it's a very common one. You either tell the player they've only got to use their least dominant foot. Obviously they're going to be less good with this foot. It's very good with using them to get into a game situation where they might not be able to use the foot they want to do to get around a player. There's another one that's very common. It's used a lot of the time. Quite a few primary school kids end up using it. And it's normally when you say you've got to pass the ball to either everyone in the team or a certain number of times before you have an attempt on goal.
Fantastic. So yeah, that's task. Obviously, environment. Connor, have you seen anything to do with the environment?
Yeah, environmental. Probably the main things that you're going to deal with is lack of players, people turning up, and just generally not having enough equipment, having to adapt, having contingency plans so that you can get through things.
Yeah.
Something everyone's faced in their coaching, really.
Yeah, definitely. So something I've seen a lot in, especially football coaching, with the team I coach, is sometimes, like you said, you get limited players or you might get a bigger group. So obviously changing the area, changing the environment, making an area smaller to obviously make the passing or the movement a little bit tighter, or also making it bigger so they've got a lot more space so they have to get their head up and have a look around and stuff like that. So fantastic. So the last one was individual. So there's a lot of talk at the moment, especially from the FA and on the FA training courses, about the development. So an age-based development versus a natural development. So the age range, so a child may be 12, but in their body growth may only actually be 10. So obviously you can use constraints-led approaches to affect the participants. So you might put someone who's a lot smaller against someone a lot bigger. Obviously this means that the person who's a lot smaller is going to have to try and dribble a little bit more, take a little bit more touches to try and get around the bigger player. Also again, this is a constraint for the bigger player, as he now has to try and get a little bit lower, has to try and stay closer to the bigger people and stuff like that. And also with the size of the players, the age of the players, and the ability of the players as well. So the FA outlines that there's 3 main sections. So you've got the players that may be struggling in your section, you've got your strivers that want to be the best in the team, and you've got the people that are at that top at the moment where they're flying ahead, you know, they want to be challenged, they need to be challenged. So I just think constraints-led approach could be helped to help the weakest, but also the strivers that are trying to get the best, and also challenge the people at that highest peak as well.
I think generally constraints-led can be used just to develop players' weaknesses.
Yeah.
So whether you're at the top of your game, you're going to have a weakness. Whether you're at the bottom of the game, yes, you'll probably have more weaknesses, but you can work on them all probably in random practice, possibly blocked practice, keep trying to improve. I'd say that it's just the way you set up. You need to be able to pick out the people that have similar weaknesses and try and put them together, try and get the best out of them.
I think I'd like to pick up on what you were saying about how everyone's going to have a weakness. Think of Messi, like you. We were saying just earlier that he's never ever going to be winning any headers. He's like about my size, you know, he's tiny. So he ended up finding out, well, how am I going to get around that? He ended up working on his footwork and dribbling skills, and now he's considered one of the best in the world.
Yeah, I think you'll see that. So obviously, in sessions, sessions can be adapted so that each player in the team is getting challenged, especially in football, in all through sports as well. So if you're looking at working on dribbling and you know a few players that are really striving ahead, you can put constraints on them. So maybe they have to take 5 touches, or they're only allowed to do 2 touches and then they have to turn. So obviously with those sort of constraints, we can improve our players from the highest to the better from the lowest, but they're all still improving, and hopefully try and get into an overall plateau of a talented group where we can coach the team to get better and better and better as coaches. So obviously we've spoke about the 3 main constraints in your coaching, but also players have other constraints during life, so social constraints. What do you believe about these?
Well, I think these happen very naturally, so often overlooked that just by going out and having a kickabout with your friends in the local park, you're naturally constraining yourself. You might only have 2 jumpers and a set of trees for goals. Well, I mean, that's a very brutal and raw way of constraining yourselves. However, you might not have the best equipment. You might not have, say, if you're using, you really want to get into tennis. However, you only had this really old, ancient tennis racket that was really heavy. Maybe had 1 or 2 strings missing. You're still working on using bad equipment, which so when you get the good equipment, you'll know what to do. And yeah, I mean, do you want to elaborate on some stuff?
Yeah, and another sort of factor, something that I've seen in my life as well, as a player more than a coach, is not being able to make it to training and matches. So when I was younger, about 5, 6, 7 years old, we'd be playing matches on a Saturday morning, but I never ended up going to the matches because my mum decided that it was more important for me to learn to swim. So instead of developing my ability to play football by playing matches, I went to swimming lessons on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, so I think you see that a lot, don't you? That, you know, we have a lot of social constraints, whether that be with family, friends, peers, you know, our school affects us. I think there's a lot of constraints for everyone, whether it be a foundation level, a participation level. You know, as we're trying to gain as players as well as coaches, I think there's always a lot of commitments and a lot of constraints that can get in the way and affect us in that sort of way. So this has been our little discussion on a constraints-led approach. Thank you very much.